Hi everybody, and welcome to week 4 of our course. And this week we start our 5th chapter, where we're going to talk about learning and behavior. I just want to remind you real quickly that you do have an exam that's going on right now. It's available, and it'll be available for a couple more days, but you got to make sure to get it before the deadline. Check the announcements on the main page for a reminder about your deadlines, and you can keep up with future dates by looking at the syllabus. Anyway, this week we're going to talk about learning and behavior, and this is one of my favorite chapters because when I was a student in Intro Psych, this really caught my attention. The idea that we can predict and describe people's behaviors based on just looking at what they're being rewarded for doing and what they're being punished for doing. This theory and this way of looking at the world from a learning perspective really dominated the study of psychology for almost 50 years. And psychology is a very young science. It's only about 120 years old or so. So this has been a really crucial theory in the foundations of psychology. The basic idea of learning and behavior theory is that we have a whole bunch of inputs, right? These are things that are in our environment. They're behaviors of our parents, they're our reward and reinforcement structures, what happens in our lives, and they go into our brains. But we can't see inside the brains, and that's the basic tenet of behaviorism. The brain is a black box. All we have are inputs and outputs, our behavior. So we can't look in the middle, so all we can do is associate the outputs with the inputs. And behaviorism did this very, very well. Your book's going to talk a lot about the early studies of behaviorism and classical conditioning. I wanted to spend our brief time here talking about operant conditioning, because operant conditioning is really what drove the majority of learning studies in the 50s, 60s, etc. So operant conditioning really does, in a large way, define our lives. When you think about operant conditioning, the idea is that the things that reward us, or the things that give us pleasure, or the things that give us what we want, those behaviors are likely to be repeated. And the things that give us punishment, or keep us from the things that we want, or the things that give us unpleasant responses, are things that are likely to be avoided in future behaviors. And that's a really simple idea. But when you apply it to daily life, it is remarkably powerful at predicting and explaining people's behavior. Why do you think bullies bully? Why are people rude and aggressive? Well, a behavioral psychologist would argue that at some point, and many points throughout their lives, these people may have been aggressive and then been rewarded for being aggressive. What if I get status and money and power from being aggressive? Well, I'm likely to be aggressive in the future, both as a child and as an adult. You can think about it on a more basic level than just big personality issues, too. You all probably, if you use a vending machine with any frequency, I use a vending machine here at work pretty frequently, I always go to the same one, right? Even though there's a bank of them, I always choose the same one. Probably because a behaviorist would explain that I have an association, I have an affinity for that machine because it gives me things that I want, right? What if I walked up and used a machine and I pushed the button and instead of giving me a soda, it fell on me? I might be unlikely in that case to use that machine again in the future. I would have been punished for doing that, so I would be unlikely to perform that behavior in the future. The idea for operant conditioning is that what gives us pleasure is repeated. So what that means is that if you look at the behaviors that you're consistently engaging in, you can find out what it is that you're deriving some benefit from, right? It also means that we can change our behavior by changing the reward structures in our lives, right? So if I want to increase a particular behavior for me, let's say I want to increase going to bed earlier, right? Then I would need to increase the rewards for that behavior, right? Find a way to reinforce myself for doing that sort of thing. All right, I really hope you guys enjoy the learning and behavior chapter. Join me on the discussion board and make sure to complete your exam. Thanks, have a great week.